Chapter 1. The World of Ancient Greece. In the heart of the Mediterranean Sea lies a land of rocky mountains and deep blue waters. This is Greece, a country made up of many small regions and islands, each with its own unique character. Long ago, these lands were not united under a single ruler, but were divided into city-states, each with its own government and way of life. Among these city-states, two were most famed: Athens, known for its love of wisdom and art, and Sparta, renowned for its harsh military discipline and fearless warriors. While Athens enjoyed exploring the realms of philosophy and democracy, Sparta trained its citizens to be soldiers from a very young age. The lives of these city-states were as different as night and day, yet both contributed to the tapestry of ancient Greek culture. The geography of Greece played a crucial role in shaping its societies. The mountains carved the mainland into isolated regions, making travel by land difficult and fostering a sense of independence in each area. The sea was the great unifier and divider. It allowed for trade and cultural exchange, but also served as a barrier against invaders. The climate of Greece is sunny and dry, perfect for outdoor activities. The ancient Greeks valued physical fitness and often held athletic competitions. These competitions were not just for entertainment, they were seen as a way to honor the gods. The Greeks were deeply religious. They believed in a pantheon of gods who were much like humans in their emotions, but possessed incredible powers. The most important gods lived on Mount Olympus, the highest mountain in Greece. Zeus, the king of the gods, ruled over the sky and thunder. His decisions affected everyone, from the mightiest kings to the simplest peasants. As the years passed, tensions grew between the city-states over land and power. They would often fight against each other, but they could also come together as allies against a common enemy. This unity was tested by the growing threat of the Persian Empire, which sought to expand its territory into Greece. The Persian Empire was vast, stretching from Asia into Africa and Europe, and it was mighty, with resources that far exceeded those of the small Greek city-states. In the early 5th century BCE, a great conflict loomed on the horizon. The Persian king, Darius, furious over the Greeks' previous defiance, vowed to conquer Greece once and for all. As the shadow of war approached, the Greeks had to decide whether to stand together or fall divided. It was in this time of fear and uncertainty that the stage was set for one of the most famous battles in history. The Battle of Thermopylae, where 300 Spartans would make a legendary stand, was not just a clash of warriors, but a moment that would define the spirit of a people. This battle was not simply about territory or power, it was about values, freedom, and the identity of Greece itself. As we delve deeper into this story, remember that the world of ancient Greece was a complex tapestry woven from the threads of conflict, ideology, and culture. Its people were not so different from us, facing choices about how to live and what to stand for. The story of the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae is a testament to their courage and determination, qualities that echo through time and continue to inspire us today. Chapter 2. Rise of the Spartans. In the rugged lands of Laconia, in the heart of the Peloponnese Peninsula of ancient Greece, lay the city-state of Sparta. Unlike other Greek city-states known for their art, philosophy, and democracy, Sparta was renowned for its singular focus on creating the most formidable warriors in the known world. The story of Sparta's rise is not just about their military might, but also about the unique society that shaped these warriors from a very young age. Sparta's origins are steeped in the mythology and harsh realities of ancient times. According to legend, the city was founded by Lacedaemon, the son of Zeus and Taygete, who named the city after his wife, Sparta. The historical Spartans, however, traced their roots to the Dorian Greeks, who invaded the region around the 10th century BCE. Over time, the Spartans subdued the local populations, turning them into helots, a class of serfs tied to the land they worked on, which was owned by the Spartan state. The Spartan society was structured around their military needs. From a young age, Spartan boys were trained to be soldiers. At the age of 7, they were taken from their families and placed in the agoge, a rigorous state-run education program that aimed to mold them into skilled warriors and disciplined citizens. The agoge taught more than combat. It instilled values of austerity, endurance, and loyalty to Sparta. Life in the agoge was harsh and competitive. Boys were given minimal clothing and food. They were encouraged to fight one another and learn survival skills like stealth and resourcefulness by stealing food, which was considered an honorable exercise, as long as they were not caught. Physical training was intense and punishing. They learned to endure pain and hardship without complaint, fostering a community that prized collective strength over individual weakness. Girls, too, received a form of state education that was unusual in ancient Greece. They were trained in athletics and dance, not just to maintain physical fitness, but to prepare them to be mothers of strong warriors. Spartan women were known for their outspokenness and freedom compared to their counterparts in other Greek city-states, where women were often confined to the home. As Spartans grew, the expectations placed upon them increased. At 20, Spartan men entered a military mess, a group that they would eat and train with for the rest of their military careers. Although they were considered soldiers at this age, they could not live with their wives until they completed their full military service at 30. This prolonged military commitment ensured that every Spartan man was first and foremost a warrior. The military ethos of Sparta was not without reason. Surrounded by often hostile neighbors and a large population of helots who outnumbered Spartans significantly, the threat of rebellion and invasion was a constant concern. The infamous Battle of Thermopylae, which would later define Spartan legacy, was born from this environment of constant vigilance and preparation. Spartan society was marked by its laconic wit, a term that itself derives from Laconia, the region where Sparta was located. Spartans valued sharp, concise speech and often used blunt statements or clever turns of phrase that could convey complex messages with few words. This linguistic efficiency reflected their pragmatic, no-nonsense approach to life and war. As we reflect on the rise of the Spartans, it becomes clear that their entire society was a fortress. Each Spartan, man or woman, young or old, was a cog in a vast machine geared toward survival and supremacy in a dangerous world. Their lives were shaped by the necessities of their environment, creating a community uniquely adapted to meet its challenges head-on. As we turn our gaze to the events leading to the Battle of Thermopylae, remember the Spartans' rigorous life. Their story is not just a tale of war, but a narrative of survival, discipline, and the relentless pursuit of excellence in the face of overwhelming odds. Chapter 3. King Leonidas. In the heart of Sparta, amidst the rigid discipline and the militaristic culture of one of ancient Greece's most formidable city-states, rose a leader whose name would echo through history, Leonidas. This chapter explores the early life of Leonidas, before he became the king who would lead the 300 Spartans in the legendary stand at Thermopylae. Leonidas was born around 540 BCE into the royal Aegead dynasty, a family that claimed descent from the demigod Heracles. His lineage set high expectations for his future, but Leonidas, like every Spartan boy, was not exempt from the rigorous training and trials of the agoge, the Spartan education system, designed to forge boys into warriors. The agoge was not just a military camp, it was a crucible that tested and shaped the character and physical abilities of future leaders and soldiers alike. From the age of 7, Leonidas endured the same harsh conditions as every other Spartan youth. He slept on hard beds of reeds, went barefoot, and wore the same simple clothes summer and winter to toughen his body against the elements. Meals were sparse, forcing him to master the skills of stealth and resourcefulness. He learned to steal food successfully, an act not of mischief but of survival and strategy, encouraged by his trainers as long as he was never caught. Physical training was rigorous and brutal. Leonidas excelled in wrestling, boxing, and foot races, and he mastered the use of weapons such as the spear and sword, which were central to Spartan warfare. His education also included lessons in endurance, pain tolerance, and leadership. Through these trials, he developed not only physical strength, but also a keen strategic mind and an unshakable resolve, qualities that would define his reign as king. But Leonidas was more than a warrior. He was also a citizen of Sparta, and his training included learning the values of his society. Spartans valued brevity in speech, and Leonidas became adept at delivering commands and counsel in sharp, concise sentences. He was taught the importance of loyalty to the state, obedience to the law, and the ideals of courage and sacrifice for the greater good of Sparta. As Leonidas grew into a young man, his leadership qualities became apparent. He participated in the Crypteia, a secret rite of passage for young Spartan elites. During this period, he roamed the countryside with other Crypteia members, tasked with keeping the Helot population in check and eliminating any serious threats to Spartan security. This experience sharpened his understanding of governance and repression, critical elements in maintaining the stability of Spartan society. Upon completion of his full training and service in the military mess, Leonidas married Gorgo, a woman known for her wisdom and spirited nature. Gorgo was not only his wife, but also a trusted advisor who would play a significant role in his reign as king. Their relationship was based on mutual respect and shared ideals, a partnership that was unusual in the context of Greek marital traditions. Leonidas ascended to the throne in 490 BCE under unusual circumstances. His older half-brother, King Leonidas I, had died, possibly by suicide, after displaying signs of instability. With Cleomenes' only daughter disqualified from ruling, Leonidas, who was his brother's half-brother from another Agiad father, took his place. His ascension was not merely a result of lineage, but also a testament to his proven capabilities as a leader. As king, Leonidas was responsible not just for leading the army, but also for maintaining the laws and traditions of Sparta. His reign was marked by a sense of duty and a vision that extended beyond mere military conquests. He was deeply committed to the welfare of his city-state, ensuring that its laws were upheld and its traditions preserved. The coming of the Persian threat under Xerxes would soon test Leonidas's mettle. Faced with overwhelming odds, his decision to stand at Thermopylae with just 300 of his Spartans was as much a strategic choice as it was a symbolic act. It demonstrated his commitment to the ideals of Spartan courage and sacrifice, a commitment that would define his legacy. King Leonidas's early life prepared him well for the challenges he would face as a leader. From his education in the Agoge to his role in the Crypteia, every aspect of his upbringing was designed to create a leader who was both a fierce warrior and a wise king. His story is not just about the Battle of Thermopylae. It is about the making of a leader who understood the weight of the crown he bore. Chapter 4. Alliance of the Greeks. In the early years of the 5th century BCE, a storm was brewing over the horizon of the Mediterranean. From the east, the vast and powerful Persian Empire, led by King Darius and later by his son Xerxes, set its sights on Greece. This looming threat would catalyze an unprecedented event in Greek history, the formation of an alliance among the fiercely independent Greek city-states. The Persian Empire was not unfamiliar to the Greeks. Earlier Persian invasions had already clashed with the disparate Greek cities, most notably at the Battle of Marathon, where the Athenians secured an unlikely victory. This victory, however, was not enough to deter the Persian ambitions, but rather postponed the inevitable return of their vast armies. As the threat of another Persian invasion grew, the need for a unified Greek response became clear. The idea of an alliance was contentious, given the long-standing rivalries and the pride of autonomy that characterized the Greek city-states. Yet the survival of all Greek peoples hung precariously in the balance, pushing them toward unity. The call to unite. It was Athens that took the lead in calling for a pan-Hellenic alliance. The Athenians sent envoys across Greece, from the plains of Sparta to the isles of the Aegean, urging cities to set aside their differences and join forces against the common enemy. The urgency of these diplomatic missions was palpable, as Persian forces were amassing, preparing to bridge the continents with their armies and fleets. The Spartans, renowned for their military prowess, were initially hesitant. Their society was insular, and their focus was primarily on maintaining control over their local region, including their helots, rather than on external affairs. However, the Spartans were also realists and understood the existential threat that Persia posed not just to them, but to the whole of Greece. The Congress at Corinth. The pivotal moment came with the Congress at Corinth, a gathering of representatives from various Greek city-states. This meeting was marked by passionate speeches, heated debates, and a deep-seated mistrust among the cities. Leaders from each city-state voiced their fears, ambitions, and conditions for joining the alliance. Among the attendees was Leonidas representing Sparta. His presence was crucial, as Spartan leadership was vital to the success of the alliance. Leonidas spoke not only of the military implications, but also of the need for unity in the face of subjugation. His words, marked by Spartan brevity and gravity, emphasized that the loss of freedom would be the greatest defeat. The result of the Congress was the Hellenic League, a fragile yet formidable alliance of Greek city-states, each pledging to provide troops and ships for the war effort. The League agreed upon strategies and shared command, with Sparta and Athens leading the military efforts. This was a significant compromise for all parties, as it required them to cooperate closely, pooling resources and information. Preparations for war. With the alliance forged, preparations began in earnest. Walls were built, fleets were assembled, and troops were trained. The Greek strategy was to defend the narrow pass of Thermopylae on land and block the straits of Artemisium at sea. These choke points were chosen to neutralize the numerical advantage of the Persian forces, allowing the Greeks to exploit their superior knowledge of the terrain and their cohesive fighting techniques. Meanwhile, the Persians advanced, a vast multitude of soldiers from across the empire, their numbers like grains of sand on the shore. Xerxes watched over this force with confidence, believing that no alliance of Greeks could withstand his might, the spirit of unity. As the Persian army drew closer, the Greek forces gathered at Thermopylae, led by Leonidas and his 300 Spartans, alongside thousands of other Greeks from the alliance. The mood among the troops was one of solemn determination. They knew the odds were against them, yet the very act of standing together, Spartans and Athenians, Corinthians and Thebans, was a testament to the power of unity. The alliance at Thermopylae was not just a military maneuver, it was a statement of shared values and collective identity. It was a declaration that freedom was worth fighting for, and that even the greatest of empires could be challenged when free peoples stand together. In the shadow of the impending battle, the Greek alliance shone as a brief yet brilliant moment of unity in a history often marked by division. The stage was set for one of the most iconic stands in military history, where the courage of a few would echo in eternity. Chapter 5. The Threat from the East. As the dawn of the 5th century BCE cast its light across the ancient world, a colossal power was rising in the east. This was the Persian Empire, a vast realm that stretched from the Indus Valley to the shores of the Aegean Sea, encompassing a diverse array of peoples, cultures, and landscapes under its rule. The ambition of the Persian kings knew no bounds, and their eyes were set on the fractious city-states of Greece as the next jewel to add to their imperial crown. The rise of Persia. The story of Persia's ascendancy began with Cyrus the Great, who founded the empire in the mid-6th century BCE. Cyrus was a remarkable leader, known for his innovative military strategies and his benevolent approach to governance. He allowed the peoples he conquered to keep their customs and religions, which helped to stabilize and integrate his vast empire. Under his rule, the Persian Empire swiftly became the most powerful state in the world. Following Cyrus, his son Cambyses continued the expansion, and then Darius the Great came to power. Darius was an administrative genius who divided the empire into provinces called satrapies, each ruled by a governor or satrap. This system allowed for efficient management of a realm that was incredibly diverse and geographically expansive. Darius also embarked on massive construction projects such as the Royal Road, which facilitated rapid communication and troop movement across the empire. Xerxes and his ambitions. After Darius, his son Xerxes took the throne. Unlike his predecessors, Xerxes faced significant challenges that stemmed from his imperial ambitions. His reign marked a period of consolidation and grandiose plans aimed at cementing Persian dominance even further. It was Xerxes who would turn his gaze towards Greece, fueled by a desire for revenge following the Persian defeat at the Battle of Marathon a decade earlier. Xerxes' plan for the conquest of Greece was meticulously prepared. He spent years amassing a huge army and navy, gathering supplies, and securing alliances with other nations and tribes. His forces were so vast that, according to Herodotus, a Greek historian, the Persian army drank rivers dry as it marched towards Greece. The Persian military machine. The Persian military was a reflection of the empire's diversity. It included cavalry from the plains of Central Asia, infantry from the hills of Anatolia, and archers from the Iranian plateau. The Immortals, an elite corps of 10,000 soldiers who served as the king's personal guard, were the most feared among them. The name Immortals came from their practice of immediately replacing any fallen member to maintain their number constant, symbolizing the enduring and unyielding nature of the Persian force. The navy, too, was formidable, assembled from the maritime peoples of the empire, including Phoenicians and Egyptians. This fleet was essential for Xerxes' strategy, as it provided support to land forces, transported supplies, and asserted control over the sea lanes. The cultural impact of Persia. Persian influence extended beyond military conquests. The empire was a melting pot of cultures, and this diversity was reflected in its art, architecture, and administrative practices. The royal capital of Persepolis, with its grand palaces and reliefs depicting the king's subjects from all over the empire, stood as a testament to Persian grandeur and the empire's cosmopolitan nature. Moreover, the Persians were pioneers in the arts of diplomacy and espionage, using a network of spies and diplomats to maintain order and gather intelligence across their territories. This complex system helped Xerxes to formulate his strategies and understand the dynamics of the Greek city-states, which were crucial for his invasion plans. Setting the stage for invasion. As Xerxes' mighty army moved westward, the shadow of the Persian Empire loomed large over Greece. The Greeks, aware of the impending threat, were spurred into action, leading to the formation of the Hellenic League. The stage was set for a confrontation that would not only determine the fate of Greece, but also mark a defining moment in the annals of history. The Persian desire to expand, combined with strategic calculations and revenge, drove Xerxes to undertake his massive campaign against Greece. It was an endeavor that would test the resolve and unity of the Greek city-states and showcase the tactical brilliance of leaders like Leonidas of Sparta. Chapter 6. The Call to Arms. As news of the vast Persian army advancing toward Greece spread, a ripple of fear and determination stirred among the Greek city-states. It was a call to arms that could not be ignored. The survival of Greek civilization, its culture and its freedoms were at stake, threatened by a foreign empire with overwhelming might. Each city-state realized that their internal squabbles were trivial compared to the imminent danger. It was time to unite or face subjugation under Persian rule. In Sparta, King Leonidas faced a profound dilemma. The Oracle of Delphi, a revered source of wisdom and prophecy, had foretold that either Sparta would fall or one of its kings would perish. Despite this ominous prophecy, Leonidas chose to stand firm, driven by a deep sense of duty not only to his city, but to all of Greece. He knew well that his leadership would be crucial in the coming conflict. Leonidas's decision was made with the Spartan tradition of courage and sacrifice in mind. He selected 300 of his best warriors, men who had sons to carry on their family lineage, ensuring that the loss of these soldiers would not mean the extinction of their families. These Spartans were not just warriors, they were symbols of Spartan valor and the embodiment of their society's ideals. Meanwhile, in Athens, strategists and politicians, led by the statesman Themistocles, also prepared for war. Unlike Sparta's focus on land battles, Athens was a maritime power, and their contribution would be naval. Themistocles convinced his fellow Athenians of the necessity to fight at sea, arguing that controlling the waters could provide a strategic edge against the Persian fleet. Athenians, therefore, began readying their triremes, the state-of-the-art warships that would be crucial in the naval battles to come. Across other regions of Greece, messengers ran from one city-state to another, carrying requests for aid and strategic plans. From the rugged landscapes of Corinth to the scholarly halls of Thebes, Greeks from all walks of life answered the call. Farmers left their fields, artisans their shops, and scholars their scrolls to take up arms in defense of their homes and way of life. Each city contributed what they could, be it ships, soldiers, or supplies. The Greek forces gathered at the narrow pass of Thermopylae, known as the Hot Gates, due to its nearby sulfur springs. This choke point was chosen because it neutralized the numerical advantage of the Persian army. The pass was so narrow that only a small number of troops could fight side by side, making it an ideal spot for the Greeks' defensive strategy. Here, Leonidas and his 300 Spartans would make their stand, alongside perhaps as many as 7,000 other Greeks who had rallied to the cause. As the Greeks organized their defense, the Persian army approached, a seemingly endless tide of soldiers and supplies. The sight of the Persian forces would have been daunting to any observer, a vast array of men and materials drawn from every corner of the empire. Yet the Greeks held their ground, their resolve steeled by the knowledge that their actions would echo through history. The night before the battle, the Greek camp was a blend of quiet resolve and somber preparation. Soldiers sharpened their swords, checked their armor, and wrote letters home, perhaps for the last time. They shared quiet moments with their comrades, knowing that the dawn might bring their final battle. As dawn broke over Thermopylae, the Greek warriors stood ready, their shields polished and spears pointing towards the advancing enemy. The air was tense with anticipation. the silence broken only by the soft murmur of prayers and the distant rumble of the Persian approach. Leonidas stood before his men, his presence commanding and solemn. He reminded them of the glory of standing for one's freedom and the honor of fighting for one's homeland. His speech was not one of grandeur, but of simple truths, the essence of what it meant to be a warrior in the face of overwhelming odds. Thus, the stage was set for one of history's most legendary battles. The Greeks, united by a common cause and led by a king who would become a symbol of courage and sacrifice, were ready to face the might of Persia. This moment, though fraught with danger, would define the spirit of a civilization and exemplify the enduring human quest for freedom and dignity. Chapter 7. March to Thermopylae. As the threat of the Persian invasion loomed ever larger, the leaders of the Greek city-states gathered to discuss their strategy. Among them was Leonidas, the Spartan king, who understood the importance of choosing a battleground that would neutralize the overwhelming numerical advantage of the Persian forces. The decision was made with great care. They would make their stand at Thermopylae, a narrow pass along the coast of central Greece. This location was strategic, as it would force the Persian army to squeeze through a tight corridor where their numbers would count for less. The march to Thermopylae was filled with a sense of urgency and determination. Soldiers from different city-states, normally rivals, now marched side by side, united by a common cause. Among them were Leonidas and his 300 Spartans, chosen for their skill and bravery, and for the fact that each had fathered sons to continue their lineage. They understood the gravity of their task and the likelihood that they would not return. Their commitment to their land and people was reflected in their somber yet resolute demeanor. As they moved through the Greek countryside, local villagers watched in silence, their expressions a mix of fear, hope, and admiration. Some offered food and water, while others joined the ranks, swelling the numbers of the defenders with every mile. The Greeks were not just fighting for their homes, but for the very idea of freedom that their way of life represented. The terrain of Thermopylae was perfect for their needs. The pass was bordered on one side by the mountains and on the other by the sea, making it difficult for the Persians to use their cavalry or to outflank the Greek forces extensively. At its narrowest, the pass allowed for only a few dozen men to stand abreast, which meant that the Greek phalanx could be highly effective. Preparations began immediately upon their arrival. The Greeks reinforced an existing wall at the pass and positioned themselves strategically. The Spartans, with their superior military training, took the lead positions, ready to face the first waves of the Persian assault. They were supported by soldiers from cities such as Corinth, Thespiae, and Thebes, each skilled in their own right, but looking to the Spartans for leadership in this crucial engagement. Leonidas issued orders with clarity and calm, ensuring that every man knew his place and duty. The air was tense as they awaited the arrival of the Persian forces. Scouts reported back on the size and speed of the advancing army, and with each report, the urgency of their task became clearer. Meanwhile, the Persian king Xerxes awaited the submission of the Greeks, sending emissaries to demand their surrender. Leonidas and his men responded with defiance, knowing well that their stand would be remembered by history. According to legend, when told that the Persian arrows would blot out the sun, a Spartan warrior remarked, "Then we shall fight in the shade." This epitomized the Spartan wit and resolve in the face of overwhelming odds. The night before the battle, Leonidas walked among his men, speaking words of encouragement and solidarity. He reminded them of the stakes of the battle, not just for Sparta, but for all of Greece. His words fortified the resolve of the Greeks, binding them together not just as allies, but as brothers in arms. As dawn broke, the Greek forces were ready. They stood in formation, shields interlocked, spears pointed outward, forming a wall of wood and iron. The sea behind them roared softly, a stark contrast to the silence of the men waiting. The first sight of the Persian army appeared on the horizon, a massive force moving steadily towards the pass. The ground trembled under the weight of thousands of marching feet, a sound like thunder rolling towards them. In that moment, there was no turning back. The Greeks tightened their grip on their shields and weapons, each man steadying the one beside him. Leonidas took his place at the front, his helmet under his arm, his gaze fixed on the approaching enemy. He placed the helmet on his head, and with a final look at his men, he gave the command to brace for the onslaught. The Battle of Thermopylae was about to begin, and though the Greeks knew the odds were against them, their courage did not waver. They were ready to defend their land to the last, to make a stand that would echo through the ages as a testament to their courage and commitment to freedom. Chapter 8. First Day of Battle. The first light of dawn crept over the hills as the Greek soldiers braced for battle at the narrow pass of Thermopylae. The air was tense with anticipation, the silence punctuated only by the clanking of armor and the murmur of soldiers readying themselves. Before them lay the vast Persian army, a seemingly endless sea of warriors that stretched as far as the eye could see. Leonidas stood firm at the front of the Greek formation, his eyes scanning the horizon. Beside him, his 300 Spartans, renowned for their discipline and valor, formed the core of the Greek defense. They were flanked by other Greek allies, each group aware of the critical role they played in this pivotal moment. As the sun rose higher, the Persians began their advance. The earth trembled under the weight of thousands of marching feet. Xerxes, the Persian king, had ordered his troops to take the pass quickly, underestimating the resolve and strategic advantage of the Greeks. The first wave of Persian soldiers charged with high spirits, shouting battle cries that echoed off the mountains. They expected little resistance, thinking the small number of Greeks would be quickly overwhelmed. However, they soon encountered the solid wall of Greek shields and spears. Their advance halted as if they had run into a wall of stone. The Greek soldiers, anchored by the Spartans, held their ground firmly. Their formation, the phalanx, was a tight array of shields and spears that presented a formidable barrier. The Persians found themselves unable to break through this shield wall. Their numbers, usually their greatest advantage, rendered useless in the narrow pass. Wave after wave of Persian attackers hurled themselves against the Greek defenses, but each was repelled with disciplined precision. The Spartans, in the center, fought with a calm determination, their training and experience evident in every move they made. They were not just fighting for Sparta, but for the very survival of Greek culture and independence. Amidst the clashing of swords and spears, individual acts of bravery emerged. One young Spartan, seeing a gap in the line, thrust himself into the breach, pushing back the intruders until his comrades could regroup. His actions, though costing him his life, inspired his fellow soldiers and reinforced their resolve. As the day wore on, the bodies of Persian soldiers piled up, creating barriers that their comrades had to climb over, only to meet the same fate. The air was filled with the sounds of metal on metal, shouts of defiance from the Greeks, and the cries of wounded men. Xerxes, watching the battle from a distance, grew increasingly frustrated. His commanders had assured him of a quick victory, yet the Greeks held firm. In a fit of anger, he sent in his elite troops, the Immortals, so named because their ranks were always replenished to remain constant. This force, the pride of the Persian army, moved forward with a deadly intent, sure that they would break the Greek lines. However, the immortals met the same fate as those who had gone before them. The narrowness of the pass, the discipline of the Greek soldiers, and the strategic acumen of Leonidas turned what should have been a straightforward battle into a nightmare for the Persians. Every attack was repulsed, every strategy countered. As the sun began to set, the first day of battle drew to a close. The Greeks, though weary, felt a surge of pride and relief. They had held the pass against overwhelming odds, and their morale was high. Leonidas walked among his men, praising their valor and encouraging them to maintain their resolve. They prepared for the night, knowing the battle was far from over, but confident in the knowledge that their unity and courage had held firm. The Persians retreated to their camp, licking their wounds and pondering their next move. Xerxes was left to ponder the unexpected resilience of this small, determined band of Greeks. The first day of battle at Thermopylae had ended not with the expected victory for the mighty Persian Empire, but with a defiant stand by the Greek alliance. Chapter 9. Spartan Valor. The second day of battle at Thermopylae dawned with a heavy air of anticipation. The Greek soldiers, having held their ground against the first day's assaults, prepared for another series of fierce encounters. The narrow pass, littered with the debris and fallen from the previous day's combat, served as a grim reminder of the battle's ferocity. Yet, amidst this somber scene, the spirit of the Greeks remained unbroken, bolstered by their initial success. As the morning mist began to lift, Persian forces once again advanced. This time, Xerxes had deployed additional units, hoping to overwhelm the Greeks by sheer force. However, the Greeks, led by Leonidas and his Spartans, were ready. Their strategy was clear: hold the line at all costs, use the terrain to their advantage, and maintain the cohesion that had served them so well. The Spartans, at the heart of the defense, displayed remarkable valor and tactical skill. Their use of the phalanx formation, a tight interlocking shield wall bristling with spears, proved devastatingly effective. As Persian soldiers charged, they found themselves impaled on a forest of spears, their numbers too cramped by the narrow pass to maneuver effectively. One Spartan, named Dienicus, became particularly noted for his bravery during these clashes. It was said that he joked with his comrades in the face of the Persian onslaught, lightening the mood and keeping morale high. His fearlessness inspired those around him to fight with increased vigor, their resolve stiffening with every wave of attackers repelled. Amidst the combat, a small group of Persians managed to find a lesser-known trail around the pass, attempting to flank the Greeks. However, Leonidas had anticipated such a move. He had stationed a contingent of Phocians to guard the path, and when the Persians attempted their maneuver, they were quickly spotted and driven back. This thwarted flanking attempt highlighted the Greeks' superior knowledge of the terrain and their ability to adapt swiftly to threats. The tactical acumen of the Spartans was also on display in their handling of the Persian cavalry. Whenever the cavalry attempted to charge, the Spartans would tighten their ranks, presenting a wall of shields and spears that the horsemen could not penetrate. The terrain, unsuitable for horses, further hampered these assaults, leading to heavy Persian losses. As the day wore on, the battle intensified. Each Greek soldier, aware of the stakes, fought with a blend of desperation and discipline. The sight of the Spartans, unyielding and calm amid the chaos, served as a powerful motivator for their allies. Their discipline under pressure was not just a matter of training, it was a testament to their entire way of life, which valued courage and endurance above all. By the end of the second day, the bodies of fallen Persians were piling up, creating an almost insurmountable barrier for further attacks. The Persian commanders, frustrated and bewildered by their inability to break the Greek lines, withdrew their forces to regroup. They had underestimated the tactical capabilities and the sheer will of the Greek defenders, particularly the Spartans, whose reputation as formidable warriors was only enhanced. That night, as the Greeks tended to their wounded and prepared for the possibility of further battles, there was a palpable sense of pride among them. They had faced one of the largest armies ever assembled, and had not only survived, but had held their ground. Stories of individual heroism and collective bravery circulated among the troops, weaving the day's events into the larger tapestry of their shared history. Leonidas, observing his men, knew that the hardest part of the battle might still lie ahead. Yet, he also knew that the courage and skill displayed by his Spartans had galvanized the entire Greek force. They were ready to face whatever challenges came next, their spirits unbroken, their resolve as firm as the mountains that sheltered their flanks. The second day at Thermopylae had ended with no significant gains for the Persians, a testament to the strategic genius and heroic valor of the Greeks. As they prepared for another day, the Greeks, especially the Spartans, were not just defending a pass. They were defending a way of life, and they were doing so with unparalleled bravery and skill. Chapter 10. Betrayal at the Pass. The third day of battle at Thermopylae began under a cloud of unease. The Greeks, having held the pass against overwhelming Persian forces for 2 days, were wary but resolved to continue their defense. The Spartan king Leonidas, aware of the strategic importance of their position, encouraged his men with reminders of their duty and honor. Despite their successes, a shadow of concern lingered among the Greek commanders, aware that the Persians were desperately seeking any advantage. As the morning unfolded, a local man named Ephialtes approached the Persian camp. Driven by the promise of riches and perhaps a place in the Persian Empire, Ephialtes made a fateful decision that would alter the course of the battle and indeed history. He offered Xerxes a piece of crucial information, a hidden mountain path that led around the Greek position at the pass. This path, if seized, would allow the Persians to flank the Greeks and trap them from behind. Xerxes, initially skeptical of Ephialtes' intentions, soon realized the opportunity presented. He dispatched a detachment of his best troops, the Immortals, to follow Ephialtes and take the path. Under the cover of darkness, they moved silently, avoiding any Greek scouts who might have raised the alarm. Meanwhile, the Greek forces at the pass continued their defense, unaware of the betrayal. The Spartans, along with their allies, fought with the same ferocity and discipline that had characterized their efforts over the previous days. Leonidas led from the front, his presence bolstering the morale of his troops. As the sun rose higher, the Persians launched frontal assaults that were fierce but predictable. The Greeks repelled each attack, confident in their ability to hold the pass for another day. However, their confidence was soon to be shattered. By midday, word reached Leonidas of the movement along the mountain path. A Phocian contingent, which had been assigned to guard that route, sent messengers in haste. They reported that they had been outmaneuvered and that the Persians were descending towards the rear of the Greek position. The realization of Ephialtes' betrayal struck Leonidas with the weight of a heavy blow. The tactical situation had changed drastically, and the Greeks were now in peril of being encircled. Faced with this dire turn of events, Leonidas made a critical decision. He held a quick council with his war leaders, where it was decided that the majority of the Greek forces would withdraw to avoid encirclement. However, Leonidas and his 300 Spartans, along with a few hundred Thespians and Thebans who refused to retreat, would stay behind to cover the withdrawal of their allies. This decision was marked not by despair, but by a profound sense of sacrifice. Leonidas knew that their chances of survival were slim, but their stand could delay the Persians long enough for the other Greek forces to escape and regroup. His command to his men was simple yet poignant: "Eat a good breakfast, for we dine in Hades." The Spartans and their allies prepared for their last stand, rearranging their positions to face the inevitable pincer movement from the Persians. As the immortals emerged at the rear of the Greek position, the remaining Greeks turned to face them, forming a circle, their spears pointing outward in a defensive formation known as the Circle of Death. The final clashes were brutal and fierce. The Greeks, surrounded and vastly outnumbered, fought with a desperate courage. Each Spartan knew that their stand at Thermopylae would be remembered, their sacrifice symbolizing the ideals of freedom and resistance against overwhelming odds. As the battle drew to a close, the ground was strewn with the bodies of the fallen, both Greek and Persian. Leonidas, along with his brave 300, fell defending the pass, their names etched in history as symbols of valor and sacrifice. The betrayal by Ephialtes, though a dark deed, inadvertently highlighted the heroism and steadfastness of the Greeks who stood and fell at Thermopylae. Chapter 11. The Last Stand. The final day at Thermopylae dawned with an ominous silence over the battlefield. The Greek forces, now vastly diminished to a small band of Spartans, Thespians, and Thebans, prepared for their last stand. King Leonidas, aware of their inevitable fate, stood resolute, his presence a comforting constant among his men. They had chosen to stay, to fight, and if necessary, to die, not just for Sparta, but for the freedom of all Greece. As the sun rose, casting long shadows across the narrow pass, the Persian forces assembled for what they expected to be the final push. Xerxes, determined to end the resistance this day, sent forth his troops with orders to capture Leonidas alive, intending to make an example of him. The air was thick with tension, the weight of impending conflict hanging heavy over both armies. The remaining Greeks were no longer defending the pass. They were now standing in a circle, backs together, facing outward to the encroaching enemy. This formation was their final tactical response, a means to defend from all sides as the Persians surrounded them. Despite their exhaustion and dwindling numbers, the spirit of the Greeks was unbroken, their resolve hardened by the knowledge of the sacrifice they were about to make. The battle began with a surge of Persian soldiers rushing towards the Greek circle. The Greeks, their spears and swords ready, met the charge with a disciplined ferocity. Every strike by a Greek was precise, every parry a testament to their training and warrior spirit. Leonidas himself fought with the vigor of a man half his age, his leadership inspiring his men to fight beyond their physical limits. As the fight progressed, the ground became slippery with blood, making footing precarious. The bodies of fallen Persians piled up around the Greek formation, yet more kept coming. The Persians, frustrated by the staunch defense and high casualties, began to use bows and arrows, slings and spears from a distance. The sky darkened with the sheer number of projectiles aimed at the small band of defenders. The Greeks used their shields to form a roof over their heads, protecting themselves from the arrows. This tortoise formation, however, limited their ability to fight back effectively, reducing their situation to one of mere survival. Yet, through it all, their battle cries continued to echo, shouts of defiance against a seemingly invincible enemy. The end came when a Persian archer's arrow found a gap in Leonidas's armor. The Spartan king fell, signaling the final breakdown of the Greek circle. The Persians rushed forward, overwhelming the remaining defenders. Yet even in these last moments, the Spartans and their allies fought with a desperation and courage that would be remembered through the ages. After the battle, the Persians found Leonidas's body among the fallen. In a show of respect unusual for the time, Xerxes ordered that Leonidas be decapitated and crucified, a grim testament to both the king's bravery and the threat he had posed to the Persian Empire. This act, intended as a humiliation, instead immortalized Leonidas as a hero, a symbol of resistance and sacrifice. The Battle of Thermopylae, though a military defeat for the Greeks, became a moral victory. The sacrifice made by Leonidas and his men inspired the rest of Greece to rally, to unite against the Persian invader with renewed vigor and determination. This final stand at Thermopylae became a rallying cry for freedom, a symbol that courage and honor can prevail even in the face of overwhelming odds. The memory of Thermopylae would endure, passed down through generations as a testament to what it means to stand firm in one's beliefs. The Spartans' valor and their ultimate sacrifice would not only define the Spartan ethos, but also elevate the Greek struggle for freedom to legendary status, inspiring future generations to value and defend their liberties against all odds. Chapter 12. Aftermath and Losses. After the dust settled on the battlefield of Thermopylae, the scene was one of stark devastation. The narrow pass, once a bustling thoroughfare through the mountains, was now strewn with the bodies of the fallen, both Greek and Persian. The loss of life was immense, and the air was heavy with the scent of blood and the moans of the wounded. The aftermath of the battle brought a sobering reality to the Greek city-states. The heroic stand of Leonidas and his 300 Spartans, along with their Thespian and Theban allies, had ultimately failed to stop the Persian advance. The path was now open for Xerxes and his vast army to march towards the major Greek cities, including Athens. News of the defeat and the sacrifice made at Thermopylae spread quickly across Greece, carried by survivors and messengers who had witnessed the last stand. The story of the battle stirred a profound sense of urgency and unity among the Greeks. It was no longer a distant threat, but a stark reality that their homeland was in imminent danger of conquest and subjugation by the Persian Empire. In Athens, the response was immediate and drastic. Themistocles, the Athenian general who had long advocated for a strong navy, now saw his strategy come into focus. Understanding that Athens could not be defended on land against such a large army, he ordered the evacuation of the city. The Athenians took to their ships, many carrying only their most precious possessions. The city was left virtually abandoned, its temples and homes standing empty, awaiting the arrival of the Persian forces. The Persian army continued its march unopposed, reaching and sacking Athens. The temples on the Acropolis were burned, and the city was looted. However, the majority of the Athenian population had escaped to safety, thanks to the foresight of Themistocles. The naval fleet of Athens, now bolstered by additional ships from other Greek city-states who had heeded the call for unity, prepared for the next crucial engagement that would decide the fate of Greece, the Battle of Salamis. Meanwhile, the Spartans faced criticism back home. The decision of Leonidas to sacrifice himself and his men was met with mixed emotions. While many hailed them as heroes, others questioned the wisdom of sacrificing the king and such a large number of Spartans for a cause that seemed, at the time, hopeless. However, the sacrifice at Thermopylae became a rallying point for all of Sparta, and indeed for all of Greece. It embodied the ultimate expression of the Spartan values of courage, duty, and sacrifice for the greater good. The impact of the Battle of Thermopylae on the Persian forces was also significant. While they had won the battle and broken through the pass, their losses were enormous. Xerxes' army, though still large, had been diminished and demoralized by the unexpectedly stout resistance they encountered. The myth of Persian invincibility had been shattered, giving the Greek city-states renewed confidence in their ability to resist and eventually repel the invaders. As the Greeks regrouped for the naval confrontation at Salamis, the spirit of Thermopylae lingered in their hearts and minds. The memory of the Spartans' sacrifice inspired a fierce determination that pervaded the Greek ranks. Their unity, bolstered by the shared sacrifice at Thermopylae, became their strength. The forthcoming naval battles would rely not just on strategy and strength, but also on the indomitable will that the Spartans had epitomized in their final stand. The aftermath of Thermopylae, therefore, was a complex tapestry of loss, inspiration, and renewed determination. It set the stage for the subsequent battles that would ultimately determine the course of the Greco-Persian Wars. The sacrifices made by Leonidas and his men were not in vain. They became the cornerstone of the legendary Greek resistance that would eventually see the Persians retreat from their lands. Chapter 13. Impact on Greek Strategy. The Battle of Thermopylae, while a defeat for the Greeks, was far from a strategic failure. Its outcome had a profound and lasting impact on the subsequent strategies employed by the Greek city-states in their ongoing conflict with the Persian Empire. The stand made by Leonidas and his men was not just a demonstration of valor, but a strategic act that shaped the course of the war. After Thermopylae, the Greek forces were galvanized by the sacrifice made by the Spartans and their allies. The battle served as a rallying point, a stark reminder of what was at stake: freedom from Persian domination. This newfound unity among the Greek city-states was crucial, as disunity had previously been one of their greatest weaknesses. Themistocles, the Athenian leader, became a central figure in shaping Greece's strategic response following Thermopylae. He argued that the sea was where the Greeks could make a definitive stand against the Persian navy, which was an integral part of Xerxes' invasion force. The naval battle that ensued at Salamis was directly influenced by the events at Thermopylae. Themistocles' strategy hinged on drawing the Persian fleet into the narrow straits near Salamis, where their numbers would be less advantageous, much like the land strategy employed at Thermopylae. The choice of Salamis as a battleground demonstrated a strategic shift in Greek warfare, relying more on their naval strengths and the geographic advantages provided by the Greek coastline and islands. The narrow straits restricted the maneuverability of the Persian fleet, reducing the effectiveness of their larger ships and allowing the smaller, more agile Greek triremes to attack with greater efficiency. This naval engagement was crucial. A victory at sea would prevent the Persians from resupplying their forces by sea, essentially cutting off Xerxes' army from its support base. The Greek victory at Salamis, therefore, was not just a tactical win, but a strategic turning point that severely hampered the Persian campaign. The success at Salamis led to increased confidence among the Greek city-states. The morale boost from winning a significant engagement, combined with the strategic upper hand gained by disabling the Persian navy, led to more coordinated efforts among the Greeks. This unity and renewed strategic focus were evident in the subsequent Battle of Plataea, where Greek forces once again faced the Persian army on land. At Plataea, the Greeks, now more unified than ever, employed a strategy of cohesive defense followed by a carefully timed counterattack. This approach was influenced by the lessons learned at Thermopylae, where disciplined stand and understanding of terrain played key roles. The Greeks had learned the importance of holding their ground until the right moment to strike, a tactic that paid dividends as they achieved a decisive victory that would ultimately lead to the withdrawal of Persian forces from Greece. Furthermore, the strategy at Thermopylae influenced Greek military tactics in broader terms. The concept of a united front, both in literal and figurative terms, became a hallmark of Greek defense strategy. City-states that had once viewed each other with suspicion began to see the value in cooperation against a common enemy. This shift toward greater unity and collaboration can be traced back to the example set by the defenders of Thermopylae. The cultural impact of Thermopylae on Greek strategy was also significant. The battle became a symbol of heroic resistance and strategic sacrifice. It was studied by military leaders and used as a motivational example for soldiers in subsequent generations. The ethos of fighting for freedom and the willingness to make the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good were ingrained in Greek culture, influencing not just military strategies but also political and social structures. Chapter 14. Echoes of Glory. The Battle of Thermopylae, though a military defeat for the Greeks, left an indelible mark on the consciousness of Greece and the wider world. Its legacy, carried through centuries, has become a symbol of courage and sacrifice against overwhelming odds. The echoes of this historic stand resonate not only in the annals of military history, but also in literature, art, and modern culture. Centuries after the battle, the story of the 300 Spartans led by King Leonidas continued to inspire generations. The Spartans' willingness to face certain death for the freedom of their homeland became a powerful narrative, celebrated in poems, plays, and stories that emphasize themes of heroism and valor. This narrative helped shape the Greek identity, emphasizing the virtues of bravery and self-sacrifice that became central to Hellenic culture. One of the most significant impacts of Thermopylae was on Greek morale and unity. The battle demonstrated that even a small force, when strategically savvy and resolute, could hold back the largest army long enough to make a difference. This lesson was instrumental in subsequent battles of the Greco-Persian Wars, particularly in the naval victory at Salamis and the decisive Battle of Plataea, which ultimately saw the Greeks victorious over the Persians. The spirit of Thermopylae, with its emphasis on collective effort and sacrifice, helped forge a more unified Greek alliance. In addition to its military and cultural impacts, the story of Thermopylae also influenced political thought in ancient Greece and beyond. It underscored the value of standing up for one's principles and the importance of leadership and courage. Philosophers like Plato and later thinkers would refer to the example of the Spartans at Thermopylae when discussing ideals of governance, justice, and personal conduct. The reverence for the Spartans and their stand at Thermopylae was not limited to ancient Greece. Over the centuries, numerous Western political leaders, writers, and philosophers cited Leonidas and his men as an embodiment of courage and a steadfast resistance in the face of tyranny. Their story has been used in political rhetoric to inspire soldiers and citizens alike, particularly in times of war or national crisis. In modern times, the legacy of Thermopylae has permeated various forms of media and popular culture. Films, documentaries, and books have portrayed the battle and its participants, often highlighting the dramatic last stand of the Spartans. These modern adaptations have sometimes taken liberties with the historical facts, but the core message remains consistent: a celebration of heroism and sacrifice for a cause greater than oneself. Educationally, the Battle of Thermopylae is a staple in the study of ancient history, offering lessons on strategy, leadership, and the clash of civilizations. It serves as a case study in how a pivotal moment can alter the course of history and how the actions of a few can resonate across time. Teachers and scholars continue to use Thermopylae as a tool to explore larger themes of conflict, cultural identity, and ethical warfare. The site of Thermopylae itself has become a place of pilgrimage for those interested in history and military strategy. Monuments commemorating the battle and its heroes stand as reminders of the past, attracting tourists and history enthusiasts from around the world. These monuments not only honor those who fought and died, but also serve as a testament to the enduring appeal and relevance of their sacrifice. Thermopylae's lasting impact is a testament to the power of storytelling and its ability to convey universal truths through specific historical events. The battle exemplifies how acts of valor and determination in the face of overwhelming odds can inspire beyond their immediate context, influencing subsequent generations and cultures. It reminds us that sometimes the true victory lies not in the outcome of a battle, but in the legacy it leaves behind, echoing through ages as a symbol of perseverance, unity, and the human spirit's indomitable will. Chapter 15. The 300 Today. The story of the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae has transcended the confines of history to become a cultural icon, influencing a wide range of modern media and public consciousness. Today, the legacy of these warriors is not only preserved through texts and academic study, but also vividly alive in films, literature, and various forms of art. This enduring appeal reflects not just an interest in their heroic stand, but also a broader fascination with their principles of courage and sacrifice. In contemporary cinema, the Battle of Thermopylae has been depicted multiple times, most notably in films that dramatize the event with intense visual and narrative flair. These movies often emphasize the stark contrast between the small band of Greeks and the vast Persian army, highlighting themes of bravery against impossible odds. While filmmakers sometimes take creative liberties with historical details, the core story remains focused on the heroism and tactical genius of Leonidas and his Spartans. Through these portrayals, a new generation learns about Thermopylae not in the dry pages of history books, but in the compelling, action-packed sequences of modern filmmaking. Beyond the silver screen, the Spartans' influence can be found in literature, where numerous books and novels recount the events of Thermopylae. These works range from historically accurate accounts to more speculative interpretations that explore the personalities and possible conversations of those who fought. Through these narratives, authors attempt to capture the human element of the battle, providing insight into what the Spartans might have felt and thought in their final hours. This approach helps to humanize the historical figures, making their experiences more relatable to contemporary readers. Graphic novels and comics have also played a significant role in popularizing the Spartan story, with vivid illustrations that bring the battle to life. These publications often focus on the visual representation of Spartan discipline and the physicality of their stand, using a graphic style that appeals particularly to younger audiences. This form of media not only entertains, but also educates, introducing the historical event in a format that is engaging and accessible. In the realm of digital media, video games and virtual reality experiences have begun to feature the Battle of Thermopylae, allowing players to immerse themselves in the historical context. These platforms offer an interactive experience, where players can strategize like Leonidas, making critical decisions and experiencing the consequences firsthand. Such interactive experiences deepen the engagement with the historical event, providing a personal sense of involvement in the Spartans' legendary last stand. Educationally, the story of the 300 Spartans is used to teach various lessons beyond simple historical facts. In classrooms around the world, educators use Thermopylae as a case study in ethics, leadership, and strategy. The battle provides a basis for discussions about moral decisions in impossible situations, the qualities of effective leadership, and the impact of tactical choices. Such discussions help students apply ancient history to modern dilemmas, drawing lessons from the past to inform the present. Moreover, the story of Thermopylae and the 300 Spartans has found a place in motivational and leadership training, where their discipline and commitment are presented as exemplary qualities. In seminars and workshops, the Spartans are often used as a metaphor for facing business or personal challenges, encouraging individuals to maintain their resolve and integrity in the face of adversity. Public monuments and memorials dedicated to Leonidas and his Spartans also serve as a reminder of their sacrifice. These sites are not only tourist attractions, but also places of homage where people from all over the world come to pay respect to the ideals embodied by the 300. These memorials ensure that the story of Thermopylae continues to inspire and educate, bridging the gap between ancient history and modern relevance. The legacy of the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae thus remains vibrant in contemporary culture. Their story resonates not because it is a tale of victory in the traditional sense, but because it is a narrative of enduring human spirit, moral strength, and the profound impact of standing firm for one's principles. As long as these values remain relevant, the story of the 300 will continue to inspire and be remembered, echoing through the ages as a symbol of ultimate bravery and sacrifice. Chapter 16. Echoes of Glory. The Battle of Thermopylae, though a military defeat, left a profound legacy that has echoed through history, inspiring countless generations. It is a story that transcends time, captivating the imagination of people across different ages and cultures. The Spartans' valiant stand has become a symbol of courage and self-sacrifice in defense of freedom, and has been celebrated in various forms of art, literature, and education. The echoes of Thermopylae are found deeply embedded in the cultural fabric of Western civilization. The battle is often cited as one of the greatest examples of bravery against overwhelming odds. Historians and philosophers have pondered the Spartans' decision to fight to the death, viewing it as an ultimate act of loyalty and dedication to their city-state. This narrative has been used to teach lessons about duty, sacrifice, and the importance of standing firm in one's convictions. In literature, the story of the 300 Spartans has been retold in countless ways, from ancient texts by Herodotus, who provided the first recorded history of the battle, to modern novels and poems that explore the thematic depths of the conflict. These literary works often highlight the dramatic tension of the battle and the stark contrast between the small Greek force and the vast Persian army, emphasizing the heroism of the defenders. Visual arts have also played a significant role in immortalizing Thermopylae. Sculptures and paintings throughout the centuries have depicted Leonidas and his Spartans in heroic poses, often idealized to emphasize their bravery and virtue. These artistic interpretations serve not only as reminders of the battle, but also as inspirations for viewers to contemplate the values represented by these figures. Cinema and television have brought the Battle of Thermopylae to life for contemporary audiences. Films such as 300 Inches dramatize the event with a mix of historical elements and artistic interpretation, using the power of visual media to enhance the dramatic effect. While these portrayals may sometimes stray from historical accuracy, they succeed in conveying the emotional and moral essence of the story, engaging a global audience and renewing interest in ancient history. In education, the Battle of Thermopylae is a staple in the study of ancient Greek history. It provides a focal point for discussions on military strategy, political alliances, and the cultural values of honor and freedom that defined Greek society. Educators use Thermopylae as a case study to stimulate discussion among students about the complexities of war, leadership, and ethical decision-making. The legacy of Thermopylae also extends to the world of military strategy and leadership training. The Spartans' tactics and their collective bravery are studied in military academies around the world. Lessons drawn from Leonidas's leadership are applied to modern scenarios, teaching cadets and corporate leaders alike the importance of resolve and strategic planning under pressure. Moreover, Thermopylae has become a symbol of resistance against oppression. Throughout history, various leaders and movements have evoked the memory of the Spartans' stand as a metaphor for defiance in the face of tyranny. This aspect of Thermopylae's legacy highlights its relevance not just as a historical event, but as a perennial source of inspiration for struggles for freedom and justice. Public commemorations and memorials dedicated to the Battle of Thermopylae further cement its place in cultural memory. These sites attract visitors from all over the world who come to pay homage to the Spartans who fell defending their homeland. The memorials are not just tourist attractions, but sacred grounds that remind us of the enduring human spirit and the virtues of courage and sacrifice. The impact of Thermopylae continues to resonate today, its story offering timeless lessons that remain relevant in contemporary society. The battle exemplifies how a determined stand, even in the face of certain defeat, can inspire others for generations. It teaches us about the values of bravery, unity, and the enduring fight for freedom, making the story of the 300 Spartans not just a historical event, but a lasting symbol of heroism and endurance. Chapter 17. Glossary. This glossary is designed to help you understand some of the key terms and phrases mentioned throughout the biography of the Battle of Thermopylae. Each word is followed by a simple definition and, where necessary, a brief explanation to help you grasp the historical context and significance of the concepts discussed. 1. Agoge, the rigorous education and training program all Spartan males underwent, starting from childhood. It focused on physical, military, and survival skills, aiming to create disciplined and effective warriors. 2. Alliance, a formal agreement between two or more states to cooperate for specific purposes, often defense. In the context of the Greek city-states, alliances were crucial in forming a united front against common enemies like the Persian Empire. 3. Archers, soldiers who use bows and arrows for fighting. Persian archers were known for their ability to shoot a large volume of arrows that could cover a significant area during battle. 4. Cavalry, soldiers who fight while riding horses. Cavalry was an important part of ancient armies, used for quick attacks and for chasing down fleeing enemies. 5. City-state, a city that with its surrounding territory forms an independent state. Ancient Greece was made up of many city-states, including Sparta and Athens, each with its own government and laws. 6. Democracy, a system of government where the whole population or all eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives, have a say in decisions. Athens was known for developing one of the earliest forms of democracy. 7. Helots, the serf class in Spartan society, primarily non-Spartan locals who were conquered and turned into state-owned serfs to work the lands and perform domestic duties. 8. Hoplite, a heavily armed foot soldier of ancient Greece, typically equipped with a long spear and a large shield. Spartan hoplites were renowned for their discipline and military skill. 9. Immortals, an elite fighting force of the Persian army, so named because their numbers were always maintained at exactly 10,000. When a soldier was killed, he was immediately replaced to keep the force at full strength. 10. Infantry, soldiers who fight on foot, especially in ancient and medieval times, forming the main part of an army's forces. 11. Leonidas, king of Sparta, who is famous for leading the Spartan forces during the Battle of Thermopylae. He is celebrated for his heroic stand and leadership during the battle. 12. Marathon, a significant battle in 490 BC in which the Athenians defeated a first invasion by the Persian army. This battle is often cited as a precursor to the conflicts that would follow at Thermopylae. 13. Naval, relating to a country's navy or military operations at sea. The Greek naval forces played a crucial role in defending against the Persians during the Greco-Persian Wars. 14. Phalanx, a military formation of heavily armed infantry standing shoulder to shoulder in files several ranks deep. This formation was known for its strength and was a key element in Greek military strategy. 15. Plataea, the site of the final land battle of the Greco-Persian Wars, which took place 1 year after Thermopylae and resulted in a decisive Greek victory against the Persians. 16. Salamis, an island near Athens where a crucial naval battle took place between the Greek city-states and the Persian Empire. The Greeks won a decisive victory which was pivotal in turning the tide of the Greco-Persian Wars. 17. Spartan, a native or inhabitant of Sparta, also used to describe something marked by strict self-discipline or simplicity. Spartans were known for their austere lifestyle and military prowess. 18. Trireme, an ancient Greek or Roman warship propelled by rows of oars, usually 3 tiers on each side. It was the main type of ship used in the naval battles during the Greco-Persian Wars. 19. Xerxes, king of Persia, who led the Persian army against the Greeks during the Battle of Thermopylae and other significant battles of the Greco-Persian Wars.